Good morning and welcome to the 92nd online session of ICC Crack the Wellness Codes. Professor Jain would spend first 15 minutes presenting his story, his journey. What is it? What is intellectual wellness? Is it curiosity? Is it exploring? It's moving forward. So he's going to unravel that mystery for you. And then we'll open it to question answer session. And then we'll discuss further about wellness support group survey, certification program, and how we're going to work very closely with Dr. Professor Jain in terms of his personal health navigator. So all of you here will get an opportunity to work with him in terms of tracking your health. So that's a very exciting proposition. So over to you, Professor Jain, and we are all here to listen to you. Welcome and good morning.
Thank you very much, Som. I'm very happy to be with this team here today and share with you my experiences and my thoughts. So let's let me go and start sharing. So today we want to talk about intellectual wellness. When we start thinking about our life, we have been talking about different aspects, it appears, in this particular course. But the most dominant aspect to me is related to our intellectual aspects. Because intellectual aspects mostly determine how our life is going to be, how happy we are going to be, and almost everything is determined by that. So let's see. The first thing that you hear about a person, you read in a novel, you watch a movie, or everything. Whenever you talk about a life of a person, you always talk about different events that took place in the life of a person and what kind of experiences the person had from those events. So, if you think about it, our life is really a sequence of events and experiences that keep coming one after the other. And it is those experiences that determine how we feel about our life. And similarly, when we are considering these aspects, what kind of events we create and what kind of experiences we derive. So when we are starting to think about this and we are interested in making our life interesting, the most important thing for all of us that we know very well, but many times we forget about it, is that today is the first day of my rest of life. This is a very, very important thing. Many times we spend a lot of time dwelling on the past. We keep on talking about past, we keep on agonizing, we want to remember about this, we want to be angry about things, we want to be taking revenge from people and all kind of things. But we should always remember that independent of everything that you happened to you in the past, that was past. What you are going to enjoy depends on the future. And what you make of your life depends completely on you. So when you start thinking about this, the most important thing that we should all remember is our body is designed to go forwards. Our eyes are on the front of our face. If you want to look back, you have to turn or you have to turn your head. When you are driving, you're not driving all the time looking at the rear view mirror. You are always driving looking forwards. In life also, you should be looking forward and going there. This is one simple principle that is important not only for each of us as an individual. This is, in fact, very, very important, even as a society, as a culture. If you want to see a country that is progressive, go there and you will find that in their culture, they do not talk much about their past. They only talk how they are going to design their future. If you want to go to a country that is backward, that is having difficulty progressing, you go and you will find that they only talk about how great they were in the past, or how bad was the past, or who was unfair to them in the past. Let's not do that in our own life. And that is most important thing. So going forward, the most important thing that shapes our intellect is the curiosity. Being curious about experiences, trying to experience new things is one of the most exciting things that you can do in your life. And that starts determining how your life is going to be. We put self imposed uh, restrictions on ourselves. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I have never done this. How can I start doing this? That those are all the bad things that we do to ourselves. Let's explore. That exploration is what determines what events you will create for yourself and what experiences you will derive out of those. And that's what is going to determine how your life is going to be going forward. So, in a very simple sense, your intellectual wellness determines how curious you are going to be, what kind of experiences you are going to have, and whether you are going to enjoy your life or you are going to agonize about the past. So let's see what we can do about that. There are thousands of books written. There are lots of people who will tell you what can be done to guide you. But remember, books are books. They are collection of knowledge. Also, they are static. They are written at a particular time. Older the book is, that means the author had experiences of the world until only that moment when the book was written. You are living today. Book does not have, in that case, today's information. By definition, any book that has been written has only the past information. This is a very important point to remember. The second important point to remember is that books, as good as they are, as good a knowledge source they are, the biggest limitation is in most cases they are written based on population knowledge, based on general knowledge. They are not about you. Remember, you are interested in your life. Each of us wants to make our life important. That personalization does not take place in the books. Can we take that knowledge and exactly apply it to us? Remember, each of us has different genes, and genes play only about 30% role in our life to determine exactly what we are going to be, what's going to happen to us. Rest is determined by our lifestyle, by our environment. And because of that, each of us is a different person. So when we start considering these aspects, then you start thinking, what can we do? And the important thing is to look at a very simple thing that has changed all our lives in last 10 years. 10 years ago, when I had to go to any place, I had to look at the maps. I had to find out all information about where I want to go, how I should go, what time I should drive based on the past information, and all this kind of thing. Or I had to get the directions from somebody, get the guidance, how am I going to go. And even then, most of us ended up spending a lot of time navigating and getting to the place. Then comes these modern navigation systems. What have they done? They have taken all the information that exists in the maps, that exists in your yellow pages, that exists in another geographic information systems. They put all that knowledge, all that information, and developed these navigation algorithms for you. Each individual, when you are driving, or when you are walking, or you want to take public transportation, the system personalizes exactly to you, and it provides you right recommendation at right time at the right place. It tells you you will have to make a left turn in 100 yards. Then it tells you now make a left turn. In many cases, it also tells you that there are three lanes turning to the left. Stay in the center lane because of the next action that you will have to take. If the traffic is bad, it reroutes you to places where traffic is better. If particular road is closed, it reroutes you because it has the latest information. So it can provide you all the dynamic information at the right time. Can we develop this kind of system for personal health? The answer is yes. We have all the tools to collect, to get all that knowledge in the system. We now have all the tools, including all these devices that we wear all the time. These devices, and all these things that capture information about us, what is our heart rate, how stressed we are, what kind of things are happening to us, have we been active or not, soon, what kind of food we have been eating, what things should be happening to us. So it continuously is collecting all the information about us. It's building our model. And based on all this, it can then provide us correct direction. Many of you have already experienced that your watch tells you that in last 1 hour you haven't stood up, you haven't walked, do this thing. Many times they can give you breathing exercises. Can we, this, all these things are going in the direction where the system, through using this knowledge about you and the knowledge that is coming from all the sources, including books and the latest journals and doctors and everybody, can provide you continuous guidance to you. This will empower health. This will make a system that you can use whether you live at the remotest place, whether you are the richest person or the poorest person in the world. Like you see, navigation systems can be used as efficiently by a person who is very poor, lives in these places. All that we need is the smartphone nowadays. And yes, that is not today available to everybody, but the way things are going, it is going to be available to 80 to 90% people very soon. Can we develop this personal health navigator using the same device that all of us are used to carrying, and these wearable devices to measure our health state, to measure what we are going through, so that it can provide us correct guidance? And these devices, believe it, in next 2 to 3 years, 2 years or so, they will be costing you less than $10, less than $15. Okay? So, can we start building this? This is what exactly my dream is to do, make this happen. And I would be very happy to interact with you, work with you to bring this dream to life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jain. You told us about intellectual wellness and, of course, how you are exercising your intellectual curiosity in this new uh, initiative of the personal health navigator. And that has a lot to do with what we are trying to accomplish in the ICC Crack the Wellness Code wellness support group, in terms of trying to track, trying to help, trying to empower all the participants who have been coming to us again and again. And this is the ninth session that we are having on, and the ninth one is, of course, intellectual wellness. And I just showed that chart which looked at all the 10 areas of wellness that we're looking at. So let me start with the initial question. So one of the questions that came up is, you, Professor Jain, you mentioned about not living in the past, which I agree. How do you train your mind not to go into the past? So that's a very, very interesting question, a very common problem we all face, and it's not easy, right? It's not easy. And even in the COVID times when we're all sitting at home, I think the past keeps haunting you because that's what you keep remembering, because you can't do anything else now sitting at home. So what do you say to that, Professor Jain?
And yes, it is very clear that this is not an easy thing to do. We all have to practice. But remember, we all come from a country where people have been always talking about meditation and things like that, where meditation is nothing but a practice, not to dwell on unnecessary things, to focus your mind and focus your energy in particular directions. Now, in meditation, they start training you not to look at external things, external factors, and focus on particular aspect. And that's basically the principle that we are talking here. Now, without going into meditation, how do we do that? All of us, as you very correctly pointed out, face that problem that when you are sitting idle, you start thinking about the past. In fact, why should you be sitting idle? If you have time and if you are curious, there are so many things in the world that you can keep yourself engaged. So, one of the things is not to let yourself remain idle. Curiosity is the most important thing. There are so many things to know in the world that you can focus always on trying to find something new, trying to think about how you are going to do. In fact, in my own personal case, if it helps somebody, I would uh, like to mention that I consider whether I am personally going through a period where I am happy or unhappy by considering that when I am in shower or when I am driving, am I thinking about something about my past or about what is bothering me, or I am something thinking about what I am going to do next? What kind of things are there? Many of the things related to my work, which because I have been doing research in the new areas, uh, I always start thinking about those things, and this is a training that we have to all get into, the habit that when we have time, whenever we start thinking about going towards past, how can we switch gear and start thinking about what are the exciting things that we can do, or how we are going to put together, start getting into the slight planning mode and things like that. It will require training. It doesn't happen automatically.
Great. So the next question is, many of us get new ideas more often, but when it comes to execution, we tend to make excuses. How to deal with it? Now, this is, of course, something the person is asking because this has a lot to do with intellectual wellness, because that keeps haunting our mind, right? So how do we deal with it?
One of the things that we don't spend much time thinking about is our peers, the groups that we work with. Uh, Remember, one of the most important things that affects us in our life is the groups that we participate in. If we participate even on the simple health things, the research has shown that if you socialize with people who are obese, you start gaining weight. If you socialize with people who are very health minded, you start becoming fitter. Yeah. Same thing you do for intellectual wellness. You try to find groups and interact with the groups that are participating in intellectual activities, that are thinking about things. And luckily, because of the internet and all these things, it is so easy now to participate in groups like we are doing right now. We are not at same physical location. Yeah? So same way, many groups are being formed. And if there is no group in a particular area that you want to explore, announce that, start a group in that. And there are uh, companies that have made this happen very easily, like meetups. So you can create a new group and start posting it. Slowly, you will start building a group of your own. Right. One of the things that when I first came to United States, I was really very impressed was how many volunteer groups are here, and how people, when somebody had something really bad happen to them, they decide that they are going to form a group to challenge that condition, whether it is a health related condition or crime related condition, and they form not for profit groups to start working on that. So, in order to keep yourself active, you can start finding the groups and start participating in that. If you remove the restriction that the group has to be local and the group has to be of this particular ethnic background or has to come from this geographic area and things like that, then the world is the vast place for you.
Thank you, Professor Jain. So we have a few more questions. I know that you have the board meeting. So the other one is very interesting, very applicable to many of us. It says that coaches help sports teams perform at high levels.
Yes.
Should we consider having coaches in our lives, uh, as well, irrespective of our age?
I think that's a very, very important and very useful question. The role that coaches have cannot be overemphasized, because ultimately human beings like to work with other human beings. That's basic nature. Uh, what personal health navigator concept is trying to do is to bring coaches to you to attend to you all the time. Uh, Many of you have heard that famous saying that if uh, Muhammad cannot go to mountain, bring the mountain to Muhammad. That's what the personal health navigator is. Coaches cannot be with everybody 24/7. Personal health navigator is a proxy for a coach who is going to be with you all the time. And in fact, the way systems are implemented for health is that if the situation becomes such that it is serious situation, then it immediately connects you to your correct healthcare provider or your family members or whoever can help you in that particular condition, and take that help to get that thing there. Yeah.
So with technology, we can have a well curated and intelligent digital assistant as coaches as well, right? And your personal health navigator is definitely a move in the direction. Can we say that?
That's exactly the idea. That's exactly the idea. That when the coaches cannot be there, if you want to a particular coach, you can capture that coach's knowledge in your personal health navigator. It will be guiding you. But at the time that coach cannot be available to you, then it will go and switch the mode and try to connect to the coach.
Okay, a related question to that, it's a related question, so I'm asking right away. As social people, we live in three dimensions. Uh, Calling someone on phone, that is dimension one. Then we call on Zoom, which is dimension two, and then meeting people, which is the third dimension. Now, given COVID, how do we live in the third dimension and help mental health?
That is something that I cannot solve easily because that's the situation where I personally face many times. I may not call them coaches, but there are people with whom I want to meet and discuss. In those cases, well, uh, my experience in the last year has been to meet with people that I must meet, maintaining social distance and things like that. But it has been the biggest limitation. I was just joking with somebody that this is the first year in my life when, for the 10 months, I have not been in a plane. I spend at least 25% of my time traveling.
So let's get to the next question. It says that how can we keep our brain sharp in old age?
Two things there. Number one is uh, age is very subjective matter. Some people feel old very very early in their life, and at the risk of sounding critical of our own background in this, in our Indian cultures, we make feel people older much sooner by saying that, now that we are 50-year-old, what is there to do except for some limited things? Uh, if you keep on feeling that you are younger, you are going to remain younger. But coming directly to your question, uh, if you want to play tennis, you start doing exercises that are related to tennis. If you want to play basketball, you do some other exercises trying to do that. Your body is very flexible, and that includes your brain. If you are giving practice to your brain to keep thinking, remain alert, your brain will be alert. If you are not giving any practice to your brain to think about new things, to get involved in different things, including simple things like solving puzzles, okay, then your brain is not going to be active. But, earlier we discussed that how do I stop thinking about the past? The first thing you do is to start practicing that you are not thinking about the past. You start training your brain not to think about the past, but to start doing something else at that time. And as you are starting to do this, you are training your brain to remain active in a particular direction. If you go and look at Alzheimer's disease, or any of the dementia problem, one of the things is that your brain, because of beta amyloid collection at the junction of your neurons, it stops using particular connections. And that's why the doctors started thinking of going in the direction that making you practice create new connections for the between the same two concepts or same two things. So you have multiple pathways, you have redundancy in those things. So if you start practicing your brain, you will go in that direction.
So thank you so much. Any other parting message, Dr. Jain, to the participants here? And of course, they have the advantage of reaching out to you. Your contact details there. So obviously, to the extent possible, I know you will be sort of getting back to them, based on the question. But one thing is that we are going to work very closely with Dr. Jain in this personal health navigator initiative that ICC Crack the Wellness Code would be doing. So stay tuned. We are going to talk about it today itself on this, how we are going to do that. So that's going to be something we have time for this session today. But a parting message from you, Dr. Jain.
Well, thanks for all your kind words, but the fact is, this is my way of keeping myself busy, not thinking about my past, but always thinking. about what's going on happening. In fact, with respect to COVID and travel, the funniest thing is that my wife at least keeps on complaining that you are more busy now during COVID period than you used to be because of the Zoom and all these things. I'm all the time interacting with people. But that interaction is what keeps me going. And that's the fun part of this because, as I mentioned, life is nothing but events and experiences. More people you meet, more things you do, more goals you have, better experiences you are going to have, more pleasing experiences you have. And right now, my biggest goal is to build something like this personal health navigator because I'm a selfish person. I am already 70. I want to live up to 100 and I want to remain active. I want to be independent. I don't need any help. And if I really believe in that, then I have to build a community of people who will help me. With, and we all together will build things like personal health navigator. That will help me, and that's what I'm trying to do. So thank you
Wow,
very much.
that's such a powerful message, you know. You are basically, sharing that mantra of 100 years, and if 100 years, then how and why, and what is the way forward. So nothing could be more powerful as a message from you as you part with us today. So thank you so much, Professor Jain. And we'll be in touch with you. And we are going to, any case, talk about the personal health navigator with all our participants there. We're going to take their feedback as to how they are going to engage in this process. And I'm sure they're very excited and very inspired. And of course, going to be very empowered with this personal health navigator and also how to remain intellectually, alive. So thank you so much
Well,
once
I'm
again.
very happy to hear that. Thanks for your interest and for inviting me. Please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.